All right, welcome back, everybody. Two-part series. You're back for part two. We got you all the good stuff that you're learning, all the fun lessons learned, and I think what you find here is there's a lot of parallels so far. So hopefully, what you're thinking about, how you built your business, the struggles that you've gone through, all the things that Patrick's gone through in this, there's just so many parallels in how to do hard stuff. And so we're back here. I want to talk about with Patrick here. I want to talk about the night before the race. Right, you alluded to it for just a second, so I want to come back to some of these scary things. You've done all this preparation. You've got Wagyu steaks lined up. You got pacers. You got an amazing crew. You got all these things. You got it all. This legal sheet of plans figured out. You're at the night before. You got 250 miles ahead of you. How do you stay calm? What goes through your head?
That's a great question. Put it this way, it was a night of not a lot of sleep. It was 6 hours of rest because it's heading into it, I was scared. I mean, I'll be honest, it's like the scare you feel when you climb into bed with your dad after you had a bad dream when you were a little kid. I mean, I was looking into the face of something that if I did wrong, let's be honest, it could take my life. Like this is a big deal and it's a lot of stress on your body and you don't know how your body's going to react. And the most you can do is just have an open mind and prepare to solve problems. Because it's like when you go into something knowing there's going to be unexpected problems, it's a lot more stressful than going into things where you know it's going to happen. You're like, if this problem happens, I'm going to do this. If this problem happens, I'm going to do that. You're going to see problems you've never seen before. And that was really the scary part for me, was the unknown. And the thing that gave me anxiety was the unknown. But I what gave me confidence is I've prepared. Like, I don't know what I'm going to see, but I'm confident that I'm probably going to make a good choice. I don't even know what those choices are going to be, but like as much experience, as many miles. It's not just the miles for fitness, it's the miles for experience. It's like tripping over a rock. It's like going through a stream, trying to keep your feet dry, like trying to stay out of the rain. I mean, just all of the things that you've exposed yourself to, and you just hope. And that's really what I went into it with, a feeling of a little bit of trepidation and scared. I was scared, but I was also wondering if I had done enough. And that was the thing that got me the most, was not knowing if I had done enough. Because if you've done something already, you know what you have to do to prepare. I have not done enough or I have done enough. But not knowing if I was ready was the hardest part. And, in going to the parallel to our advisors, like going into new swim lanes, talking to new customers, you've gone to a Telarus training, you've done the online university, you've done a few practice QSAs, but then you're in a boardroom talking and then it hits you. I don't know if I've done enough. Like, I might fail, right? So having that feeling of I might fail is something that I'm not used to in my life, at least not for the last 10 years. Like, for the first 10 years of Telarus, boy, it was touch and go. Like one supplier cuts us off, or one, lawsuit or something pops up, and it could be over, right? But as we got bigger, now we're pretty set and established. But having that feeling of I might fail was scary, but it was real.
Fair. All right, so then let's fast forward. Next day, it's race day. Give us a dilemma, something that you faced. How did you decide to do, and kind of really what were the ramifications of, all right, I've made this decision. Here's the dilemma. Here's what I'm going to do.
So the way the race plan laid out, day one for me was the most critical. Day one was everything, because all the other days I'm going to have help. Day one is all about Patrick figuring things out on his own. So getting to mile 80 was my goal. I could see my crew once. They could help me change my shoes, but they couldn't run with me. They couldn't do anything. They would have to drive their car up this nasty dirt road to a place called Crown King, which is an old saloon, literally from the Wild West. Like, it's an old mining and ranching town up in the middle of the mountains. So apart from one stop where I would see them, literally I basically had to get the whole 80 miles. And the first 40 miles, there's a stretch of 17 miles where there's no stops. And at the end of the 17 miles, the stop is just a water stop, which is where the race organizers fill up these canisters of water. And they put them on the back of an ATV, and they drive these canisters of water up to a very, very, very remote storehouse in the middle of the woods. and they just put the canisters in there. And on race day, they drive the ATV back up there and they have the canisters and they just fill our water bottles up. So it's just a water stop. So they're going to give us 1 liter of water. So I make all my plans. I carry my 2.5 liters of water that they tell you. The race directions are like, bring water, bring water, bring water. I'm like, I got it. I got a whole new hydration pack. I'm basically a human water balloon at this point with so much water that I'm carrying. And so the race starts out great. It's actually pretty fast paced, but it's pretty flat and stuff. So it's very runnable stuff I've trained on. And then this hill climb starts, and then the sun comes up, and then the heat starts to ramp up. And then I'm going, man, I'm going through this water way faster than I ever did in practice. Like I haven't been able to replicate running in Arizona, obviously, with the exception of those few miles I ran in Mexico, in the heat and humidity. So I'm starting to get low, and I'm coming up to this water stop, and I'm thinking, man, I got like half a liter left. And after this water stop, I have another 8 miles of climbing in the heat to get to the top of what's called Lane Mountain. So Lane Mountain is the top. Once you get to the top of Lane Mountain, you're good probably till whenever, right? That's the first major climb. Got to get to the top of Lane Mountain. So I pull in to the aid station or the water station, and I need a liter. But in the race documentations, like, you will get a liter of water there. I show up, I take my hydration pack out, I open up my bladder, and the guy says, "Hey, we're really sorry. Last night, some bandits or somebody stole some of our water canisters out of our little shed."
No.
Yes. I was in disbelief. And as a result of that, we can only give you a half a liter. So half of the ration now is coming through instead of the full ration. And like ultra racing is always like tongue in cheek, like, it's about a mile, it's about a half liter. Bro pulls out his measuring cup and pours in exactly 500 milliliters. Exactly. Like he was a chemist, right? And he pours that amount into my hydration pack, and he goes, "Good luck. 8 miles to the next aid station." And I said, "Okay, time out. I have maybe enough water for 4 miles. I don't have enough water for 8. And I'm not going to run 4 miles dry." I go, "What are my options? I need more water." And he says, "Well," points over here, "see that stagnant pond over there? It's like, if you have a water filter, you could probably filter some of that." So, being a Boy Scout, I had a water filter.
Of course you did.
Right? Because I've gone on trail runs where I ran out of water and I came up against a stream or something, and that filter saved me. So I don't dare run without water filters. Even though I know I have enough water, there's always a chance that you may need more. So I go over and I put some water in there in my filter, and bro, it's got like polywogs in it. It's got moss. Like, it's not even running water. It's like in the middle of a pasture kind of water.
Yeah.
And so I put it in my filter, and then I squeezed the brown water. Granted, it filters out most of the junk, but it doesn't filter the taste.
Yeah.
So just a heads up, in case you're wondering what pond water tastes like. And I also know that my filter, just the basic filter I had in my backpack, probably wasn't strong enough to filter out 100% of the stuff in that pond water.
Yeah.
It was a little, biology experiment. So I probably knew that if I drank that water, I would probably be suffering from diarrhea a little later on. Like, it wasn't going to be free. And so I had to make the decision: do I drink the pond water and face the fact that my stomach will probably be angry at me for a while? Or do I just go dry for a minute and test my kidneys? And I've already had partial kidney failure multiple times where I almost had to go to ER, right? And I've had other friends that have ended up
It's something to mess
on
with.
dialysis,
Yeah.
right? So dehydration is something you don't mess with. So I made the decision: I'm going to drink the pond water, filtered pond water, and I'm going to get my diarrhea, and I'm going to keep my kidneys healthy. And my stomach's going to go offline for 6 to 10 hours, and nothing's going to stick. And it's probably going to ruin my energy. It's going to ruin a lot of stuff because, man, I got a 4-day race. The stomach is your most important organ, and I'm going to purposely anger it. So it was a hard decision to make. So I did it. I made it to Lane Mountain. I dumped all the pond water that I didn't drink, and I tried to clean things out the best I could so I wouldn't have any remnants of the pond water. Yeah. Got all new water, and then 2 hours later, the fun started. And I call them my unexpected pit stops. Unexpected pit stop after another one. Pretty soon I got to the point where, like, hey, I have enough materials to help clean up after 2 or 3 pit stops, but I probably don't have enough material for 5 or 6 or 7. So now I'm like, do I start rationing toilet paper? Like, what? I mean,
New problems.
These are new.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh! Like, I never thought like not having enough 2-cent toilet paper would ruin my. I don't even know how much. Like multi-$1,000 race, right?
Yeah.
And so little by little, I battled. I was able to get to another aid station, which looked like a Boy Scout camp, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Go to the bathroom, grab a bunch of extra toilet paper just in case, and try to fix things. And then by the time I got to mile 70, another thing popped up. I'm taking an electrolyte pill every hour. I can't swallow the pill anymore. Every time I try to swallow the pill, I gag and I choke and I spit the pill out. Like I can't get it down. I'm like, well, now my muscles aren't going to fire because I don't have enough salts. How do I get that thing down? And so I learned at an aid station, if I sit down and I angle my mouth at a certain angle and I chase it with I can get it down. But it's very, very specific. Like I have to stop. I have to, and so I have to drink the water out of an open cup. I can't squeeze it and then swallow. That's a 2-step. I have to have an open cup, and so every time I have to do it, I literally take my cup out. I squeeze some water into the cup. I take the pill and I eat it like this. And so all of these little modifications like keep happening. And finally I get to mile 80 and I see my crew and I literally almost start crying because I'm so happy. I feel like I'm that dude stranded on that desert island and a ship is sailing my way. Like my salvation is here. I'm going to get saved. I'm Wilson. I have created fire, you know? And I was so excited. And Brian was there with the RV. So we go into the RV and he looked at me like kind of weird. It was almost like when your friend is like, you know, snowboarding and he gets in a bad accident and you come up and you're like, dude, you're okay. And his arm is pointing the wrong direction and is like,
You should go that way.
Like,
Now it goes
that
like,
way. Dude, you're fine. You're going to be okay. Like he was treating me like that.
Yeah.
And after the race we were talking, he's like, dude, you look like death. Like I've known you a long time. I've never seen you look like that. He's like, but you still maintain this positive aspect. He goes, how did you stay positive? Because you look like death incarnate, is what he called it, death incarnate. And I said, Brian, I knew that if I could get to mile 80, no matter what state I was in, no matter what problems I was experiencing, my crew would fix me. I put a crew together and I had 1,000% faith in they could fix me. So I went in and the first thing Jen said to me was, talk to me. And that was my favorite 3 words, the whole thing, talk to me. Now, it wasn't like, I'm doing good, things are good, things are great. Like, it was like, tell me the freaking bare truth. Like, don't sugarcoat anything. I said, Jen, I've got GI problems because I drank pond water. My stomach's upset. I don't think I've eaten enough calories because my stomach was so upset. I'm dehydrated because no matter what I do, I can never get hydrated enough. And I'm tired. And she's like, okay, we're going to reset your stomach. What you're going to do is you're going to drink this bone broth. Bone broth. She's like, trust me. Okay, so I drank the bone broth. She goes, second, you're going to go shower and you're going to take a 20-minute nap. Okay, check. Showered, take a 20-minute nap. Second, you're going to put on all your clean clothes. Okay, we're going to put on deodorant. We're going to put on lotion, sunscreen. We're going to basically make it so that this is a new day. Like it's a new morning and you're going to go out for a run on day 2. This isn't a continuation from last night. We're going to put a hard cut on here. And now you're going to eat mashed potatoes cooked in bone broth mashed potatoes. She and Marty knew that I probably might need these because these are very, very good foods to eat for starch when you have an upset stomach. So she immediately put me on the bone broth program. So we started eating, drinking. So I started eating that and I started to feel better. And then who walks through the door? Adam Burke. Seeing a familiar face, so my morale got better. And then the sun started coming up. And so it's like, you get to see, the sun coming up for me is like a spiritual experience. Every day I love getting up early enough to see that sunrise because it's a new day, it's a new hope. So all that stuff combined, so I exited the RV and I continued on the course and I felt better. Literally from the time I came in, maybe 30 minutes later, I was a different person. And Brian Perdue was like, you people are crazy. Like I've never seen a metamorphosis like that. Because usually in running, if someone's beat down, they're done. He goes, you were beat down, you were on death's doorstep, and 30 minutes later, you're like, hey dude, let's go, let's have fun. Like He's like, the amount of times I saw you on death's doorstep to then resurrecting again and then dead and then resurrected, then dead. And so that's a real important lesson too. Like you can be down, but you're not out. If you don't quit, you have enough resources and you have enough friends that will put you back on that horse and get you going. And you have to have faith in them, because without them, I knew I was done, but I knew that they would fix me. I knew 100% in my heart that I was going to be okay.
Whew. That's a good one. There's so many lessons. That's its own podcast right there of just the team, complicated stuff, how to push through it, how to believe in the people and just put all that full trust in the people that you put in there to begin with.
And knowing that you're going to lean on them, not having them there just in case, knowing I will need their help. Like it's that faith and that confidence is everything.
Well, I think, and the point is that you may fail, and that's okay. I think it's a society we've conditioned that, like, if I fail, like I'm gonna let everybody down, and that's gonna be the end of me. Like, it doesn't define you. I mean, look at what you've built here. Look at what you've built in your personal life, right? There are many times where you could have just stopped and said, you know what, that was really hard and scary. I don't want to go through that again, man. I can't possibly put myself or have the risk of failure again, right? But you didn't. And look what you've become. Look what this has become. And it's the team, it's the people, it's the perseverance. And, just kudos to you for designing a plan, trusting the plan, and following the plan. And it worked.
But what you said right now, the key word that you just said is perseverance. Because failure doesn't exist as a word. It doesn't. Because if you don't quit, you didn't fail. That's a setback, but it's not fail. And so if you don't quit, and that's really how Telarus started, man. We had one setback, not failure, one setback after the next, but we never quit. And we said, what did we learn? How can we do this better the whole time? So Telarus was one constant iteration, an organism that just evolves, but it learns from itself. This race, the same thing. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to have setbacks, but my crew will not let me quit, and I won't let myself quit. And I told all my crew before the race, I said, listen, do not let me quit under any circumstance. If I beg you to quit, you cannot let me, okay? Because that's not me speaking. This is me speaking.
Yeah.
That guy, I'm bringing you here to take care of that guy and to not let him quit. And several of them reminded me of that during the race, where there was a couple of times I got to mile 100, and when I got to mile 101, my pacer and I, we did a little cheers with our water bottles, because that was the furthest I'd ever gone. So we celebrated that little milestone. Mile 102. Every mile that happened after that was a new record, new record, new record, new record. And so I was really on cloud nine. And Adam Burke, man, I don't know if you guys know his military background, but like he was, I think, an Army Ranger, just straight up focused on the mission. We talked a little business, we talked a little personal life, but 90% of our conversation was around electrolyte intake, water intake, how are you on calories, where are we on navigation? We just passed mile 102, like all of those things. We got 3 more miles till the base of the first climb. And it was all business, which I loved, because again, it took stress off of me. It took thinking off of me. And so we made it to the top. Once I got to about mile 150, that euphoria of I'm breaking new records and isn't this great wore off. And at mile 150, we were coming into Sedona, Arizona. The sun was coming up, and Josh, I hit the end of my rope. I didn't know when it would happen. I knew eventually I would hit the end of the rope. I hit the end of the rope, and I sat down, and a woman by the name of Jill Wilkins was pacing me at the time. Excellent trail runner. She's from Wyoming, toughest lady I've ever known. And she was in front of me, and pretty soon we came around a bend, and I saw a nice shady tree, and I sat down under the shady tree, and she turned around and says, "Are you okay?" And I don't know what happened, but I started bawling my eyes out. I just sat under that rock, and I just said, I don't know what made me think I could do this. I don't know what I'm doing here. I can't do it. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm failing everybody. I'm going to disappoint everybody. I can't do it. And she let me have my moment. She didn't say, "You can do this. This is what you're feeling is stupid." She's like, "Dude, hang out with your feelings for a second.
It's real. Yeah.
But I need you to get back on your feet and have a drink. And let's just walk another mile and just see how you feel." I'm like, okay, let's just go another mile. And then another mile came, and I started feeling better. And I had another orange, and she pulled something out of her backpack, some mystery fuel. I still need to probably call her and see what that fuel was. And that made me feel better. And then pretty soon we were in Sedona. And Sedona was at the fairgrounds. In Sedona, I had an RV. I had a guacamole bacon burger waiting for me. I had a new pair of shoes. Like Bart Lee, the guy I paced last year. So my next pacer was a Cocodona finisher himself.
Oh, man.
I'm like, so my whole world changed again. I came back up that
Ups and
roller coaster,
downs.
and I was crushing and climbing out. I mean, Sedona was like probably the most picturesque place I've ever seen, and I was climbing out of there at sundown, so I got to see like the most amazing sunset. And I'm thinking, I'm in the middle of a race. I'm seeing things most humans are never going to see. I'm trying to take pictures, and I'm with Bart, and it was ridiculous, amazing. But by the time we got to the top of that climb, I was a disaster again. I was like out of calories. The climb was super steep. It was dark. It was overgrown. So it's like trying to, you're getting kind of scratched and cut by bushes. And we got to the top, and what I didn't realize is that Bart had given me all of his food in addition to my food. So bro ran the last 8 miles of his segment with nothing except just electrolyte drink. And so again, but I put myself with people that would give everything they had to me, and he did. And I was like, I'm so thankful to Bart. And then the last little piece of running with Bart was on flat ground. And so I said, Bart, can you run in front of me and keep a 12-mile minute pace? And I'm going to sleep run. And I'm going to just focus on the little dot on your backpack, and that's all I'm going to see. So if you're running and you see a little pebble, you're going to have to steer me to the right or to the left, and we're going to have to do this. And the last 7 miles with him, I don't even remember. And we finished it, and he got me to where I needed to go, back to that RV, back with Brian and Kobe again. And from then on out, it was flat with the exception of one huge climb. And there's a big mountain that sits right behind Flagstaff called Mount Eldon. And it's a 3,000-foot straight-up climb, and that starts at mile 235.
Of course.
So these guys are going to run you 235 miles, get the living crap beat out of you, get you sun exposed, get you thirsty, get you with tons of elevation. So the total vertical profile on that is 40,000 feet of climbing. And the last 3,000 feet come at mile 235. I'm like, it's kind of psychotic how hard they made this race. So the whole last day was about replenishing the calories, building up your cell phone battery back to like 50%, 60%. And I ran that last section with Chad and Rick. They fed me. I ate all the food I could eat. And so I got to the last section thinking I should be at least at 50% battery, and my battery was at 5%. And I was like, oh no. And then Jill volunteered for the last section, so she did a double duty. And the closer we got to that mountain, Josh, I looked up, I'm like, I've got 5% battery. I do not have enough to get over that mountain. I'm not going to finish this race. And every other race I've ever done in my entire history, the closer I got to the finish line, the faster I run.
Yeah.
I can see the finish line. The adrenaline kicks in, and I know I don't have to have anything in the tank. I can put it all out there and get to that finish line fast. This one, the closer I got to the finish, the worse I felt, and the more I felt like I was going to fail. So the closer and the more worn out, I was like, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail. And I haven't had that feeling in like 20 years. Like maybe the early few years of Telarus, like there was a chance.
Yeah.
But there was a legit non-zero high chance that
So how'd you make it? How'd you finish? How'd you get through that impossible part?
So it was really hard. It was really hard. The sun went down. Let's see. Flagstaff is already at 6,000 or 7,000 feet elevation, plus another 3. Now we're going up to 10,000 feet in the middle of the night, where it's like windy, cold. So the temperature dropped up there to 18 degrees.
Oh my gosh!
So you got to wear winter clothes. The hard part really was the energy. I could only climb a couple rocks at a time, and then we had to sit and stop. A couple rocks, sit and stop. The other thing is, I started to get this insane sense of dizziness, like a drunken, like I could not walk a straight line. I started tipping over to the left a little bit, not because my muscles were failing, my body core muscles. It's because I was dizzy, and this felt like I was straight up. It's so weird. The problem is there's a few technical parts on those rocks where if you fall, it's a 30-foot drop minimum. So it's like Jill looked at me in the eye and said, I have to have you walk a straight line. You can't be tipsy, not up here. Like this is really bad. So when we got to the technical part, she stopped and literally handed me like a 5-hour energy. She's like, drink this now. I'm like, okay. And she literally looked at me eye and she literally just got me to the top of the hill. And it was just little by little. It usually takes 45 minutes to climb. It took me over 2 hours. So I said, I'm going to be on this hill all night long if I have to. And we're going to go little by little, but we're not going to stop. We're not going to go backwards. We're going to make forward progress, even if it's infinitesimally slow, painfully slow. And so literally by the time we got to the top of the mountain, the sun was coming up. So we literally spent all night on the mountain or getting to the mountain. And then once we were at the top and the sun came up, I just had the feeling, I'm like, it's going to be okay. And I kind of almost started crying again. I just got that deeply exhausted state. The emotions just ran.
Oh, yeah.
They just ran whenever they wanted to run. And I literally cried at the top of the mountain because I knew that I only had 8 downhill miles to the finish now. So we got up, started the downhill run. And then guess what? Another problem. My feet are like, we're blistered out. We can't do this. I'm like, no. So I said a little prayer and I said, look, God, you don't need to take away my pain. I brought this on myself. This is not on you. This is on me. But just help me deal with it. Just help me handle the pain a little better. And honestly, that prayer was answered. And the last 7 miles, I really didn't feel my feet at all. After the race, I felt my feet. I felt everything. And we got to the finish line, and it was one of the most, even when I was a half a mile from the finish, Josh, I still didn't know if I was going to finish. Those doubts were still there. Like, you can't do this. Like, and so now having finished the race, I haven't had one of those thoughts since. Like that little piece of my psyche, call it a demon voice, call it whatever. That thing it died. Like I literally killed it. And so now my life is different. Like this race changed my life. It changed who I am as a person. It changed who I am as a businessman. Like I approach everything different now as a complete game changer. And had I not put myself out there in a situation where I could legitimately fail, doing something legitimately scary, harder than anything, I wouldn't be the Patrick you see now. It's making me who I am. And so at home, at church, at scouts, and at work, especially at work, everything's different. Crazy. Can't explain it.
I love it. I love it. Awesome to see you finish. Awesome, all the ups, all the downs, everything in between, the plan, the people, the team. I mean, as you look back at that now, how do you approach these really hard things? I mean, obviously it's given you a lot of confidence to go, geez, bring it. But I mean, as you take that back to business and you take that back to building, how do you approach hard things now?
Honestly, you just hit on it right now, and that's confidence. Like, when you do hard things, you get a new yardstick by which to measure hard things. So when I look at things now, I'm like, I did Cocodona, I could do this. I did Cocodona, I could do that. Like, everything now my perspective is completely opposite. Should you do things? That's a different conversation. But if there are things you should do that are hard, you could do them. And so it's just weird, but like I have this sense of absolute confidence in myself, but I also have this sense and confidence in my team, because over time growing up, I was always the guy in the group project in high school or college where I did all the freaking things myself because I didn't trust the other team members that they would do it right. So I was a very micromanaged, kind of focused person, and I wasn't necessarily a team player. I was like in football, I was like, give me the ball, I'll get the first down. Like, but you have to confide in your team and enable your team. And now that was really the one weakness in my life. And now, having built a team, enabled my team, used my team extensively, I've developed more of a confidence in my team's ability to get things done. Like that confidence in myself, I've always had, and then now it's just stronger. But the non-confidence I always had in teammates now is 100% more solid. And even here at Telarus, the early days, man, I did everything, but I micromanaged everything. If something important needed to get done, I just did it. The very first partner summit, I did everything. And people are like, dude, let me help. And I'm like, no, I got it. And I almost ran myself into the dirt trying to do everything myself. But but really understanding what the task is and understanding what qualities are going to be needed, and then finding those qualities in people and then trusting them that they're going to get it done. It's everything. And so when I look at Telarus, I look at the teams that we built, I look at the team that you've built. Like, I think to myself, would I trust them in front of my best customer that took me a decade of relationships to get into? Like, that's the hard part. I know I can close the deal, but if I bring them, can they do their part? Because they're going to have to do work. I can't do this alone. They're going to have to do work. I knew I couldn't do Cocodona alone. I knew I could do what I could do, but I would literally have to put myself at their mercy, and they would have to push me the rest of the way, and it got done. So there's so many parallels, but the absolute fact that having confidence in yourself, that's kind of the easy part. I know a lot of people out there are like, oh, I don't have confidence. The people listening to this podcast, probably not in that group. These are people who have started successful businesses that have confidence in themselves and they want to be their own boss. That's confidence isn't their problem. It's building the team and trusting that team with your life. I mean, literally, Cocodona, I was putting my life in their hands and putting your business life in your hands. Your best customer, that's your business life. That's your livelihood. That's everything. Do you have a team in place that you can trust your life with? And that's the question that people need to ask. And only by doing these insanely scary things can they ever know the answer to that question.
I love it. Look, man, I think that's all the questions I've got. Any final advice for the partners, right? I mean, we've started this podcast to help partners hear the lens of success and the lens of business and the lens of hard things through many different angles, right? Any final thoughts that you want to leave the partners with that are building businesses, are going through hard things, are walking into deals, are going through different strife? What's your final thoughts here?
My final thought is, again, the word persistence. I mean, that is the key to life. I mean, failing, you should never use the F word. The F word shouldn't be part of your vernacular. It shouldn't be part of your life. Setbacks, you're going to experience setbacks, but never quit, because if you don't quit, you have not lost the game. This is one of those things where there is no time on the clock. There's no 4 periods with at the end and it's over. Life is a journey. Your business is a journey. You have to evolve, and you're going to have setbacks, but don't stop. Don't stop. The last part of the thing that I'll mention is that the post-race recovery was insanely hard. Something that I could never have known. My body has never known those feelings. Like the 2 months it's taken for my lungs to clear out all the smoke and all the dust, the blood clots that resurfaced that could take my life if I don't treat them properly. The bottoms of my feet are just now, like, the skin is healing. I mean, the body battery, I would sleep and I would wake up and I had still 50%. I would never, it took over a month before I ever felt 100% again. All those things, but I never quit. I'm like, I have to have patience. I put myself through something really hard. I got to let my body figure this out. I know it's going to figure it out and it's going to take time. So it's never quitting, but also having patience. Like, if your body needs to heal, if your business needs to heal, you made a bad decision, it's going to take a couple months to get some money back in. Bad hire, now that's going to set us back 6 months. Like, let your business heal, let your body heal, but don't quit. Like, you have to stay in the saddle, because things will improve. And if you have the right team around you, they absolutely will improve, and you can't stop it. So it's really cool.
Love it. Well, PKO, impressive stuff, man. Congrats to you. Love the advice. Love all the parallels. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for all you've done to get us to kind of where we are, and exciting to hear the next story next time we have you on, man.
So absolutely my pleasure. And I can't tell you how much pride I have and pleasure I derive from this business, seeing so many people accomplish their goals. If I could go back, 22 years to when we started the company and tell that Patrick back then, you're going to make a really good living off of helping a lot of people reach their goals. All about it. And that's the great thing about being a crew. The crew's only job was to get me a belt buckle, and Telarus's only job is to get you your metaphoric belt buckles out there. And you've done a tremendous job, Josh. So I just want to, now that we're here on air, just for a second, just thank you for putting together a great team and being the kind of person you are. And this is the business of relationships. And it's not only relationships externally, it's relationships inside your own company, relationships with your suppliers, with everybody, with advisors. And you've built a team that can relate to people. And you're not just tech smart, you're people smart, and that is just hugely important. So congrats to you too.
Love it. Appreciate the opportunity. Appreciate the kind words. That's it. It's good stuff, man. Okay. That wraps us up. We're here with PKO, Lessons from Leaders Blueprints, Cocodona 250. Until next time, this is Next Level Biz Tech. I'm your host, Josh Lepresto. Thanks, everybody.
Next Level Biz Tech has been a production of Telarus Studio 19. Please visit Telarus.com for more information.